Curb Your Enthusiasm. Curb is one of the most successful and funniest shows on the air right now. One of its most unique features is how Jewish it is and how it explores facets of Jewish American life. But what makes Curb so Jewish? Is it simply the fact that Larry is Jewish? Is it the music, the actors, the fact that it deals with Jewish life? It is probably impossible for us to truly articulate the essence of what makes Curb feel so Jewish, but we can try.
Wow. Jimmy, you know your stuff.
Let us start by building a basic picture of the history of Jewish comedy. This will allow us to contextualize Curb in Jewish history. It will help us identify themes of Jewish comedy present in Curb, and it will allow us to come to conclusions about what Curb says about modern Jewish American life. While today it may seem to us like there is a deep link between Jewishness and comedy, historically this was not viewed as the case. As is explained by Jewish literature researcher Jeremy Dauber,
for most of their history, Jews weren't particularly thought of as having much of a sense of humor. In fact, a lot of outside observers considered them downright glum. The early 20th century British philosopher Alfred North Whitehead, for example, remarked that Jews were singularly humorless.
Okay, so people, especially European Christians, did not find Jews to be funny. But where does the link between Jewishness and comedy begin? Like many other things, it starts with the Bible.
It's called the Bible.
And more specifically, the Book of Esther and the Jewish holiday of Purim. In a very brief summary, the Book of Esther tells the story of Esther, who is a Jew living in ancient Persia, and how her and her cousin Mordecai were able to reverse fate and stop a plot by Haman, the king's evil advisor, to exterminate the Jews. Through her beauty, God's favor, and by hiding her Jewish identity, Esther is able to become the queen of Persia. And when she finally reveals her Jewish identity to the king, he has Haman executed and hung by the ear. The Book of Esther, which was traditionally viewed by Jews as the great source of Jewish humor, is one of the first texts to create the link between persecution and Jewish comedy. As Professor Dauber explains,
the diaspora-set Book of Esther is the first work of Jewish literature to deal with something we'd recognizably call anti-Semitism. The persecution of Jews for motives, with tactics, and with rhetoric, familiar through the long history of the Jewish diaspora. As a result, it's the first work to feature the joyful celebration and comic pleasure that comes with an anti-Semite's downfall, and the frustration of that form of persecutory intent. If there's any truth to the phrase, "They tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat," it comes from the story of Esther and the festive holiday of Purim that resulted to commemorate the salvation she brought about.
Curb is one of the shows which most hilariously plays with the tradition of comedy and anti-Semitism. Larry often uses instances of anti-Semitism to draw big laughs. As we see in this clip from season 10, in which Larry works with a German inventor.
This is my assistant, Adolf. You named your dog Adolf?
Curb finds the humor in the anti-Semitic overtones implied in the inventor's mannerisms.
Handsome face, but you can tell he's stern.
We see that Larry's suspicion is justified by how the inventor's dog treats Larry.
Hey, good boy.
I looked at a spectrum of colors, but I decided to go with white. It's the best.
So impressive.
Good choice.
Finally, a solution to cold coffee.
Yeah.
Nein! Hey! Halt! Adolf, halt!
Nein! Adolf!
Kein Halt! Fußhalt!
While in modern Jewish life, anti-Semitism is not as bad as it is in the Book of Esther, Jewish comedians still find the humor in moments of having to deal with it.
Was this important?
The next significant development in Jewish comedy occurred around the Enlightenment, when Jews sought to capitalize on the opportunities they saw in the ideas of rationalism, religious tolerance, and modernization. This led to a Jewish movement called the Haskalah, which sought to modernize Jewish life. One of the Haskalah's strongest tools in this project was their use of humor and satire, as they made fun of the behavior of other, more Eastern and more traditional Jews. As Professor Dauber explains,
The Haskalah plays an important role in our story, so it's worth taking a moment to explain what it is. It consisted of, largely speaking, a set of men in European Jewish communities, first in Western Europe over the late 18th century, particularly Germany, who had really bought into the new ideals of philosophical rationalism and religious toleration. They understood that this moment, exemplified by this argument, offered new prospects for Jewish political and social equality. But they also understood that these prospects wouldn't materialize without some change, and that the onus for that change was on the Jews. The proponents of the Haskalah, or Maskilim, advocated reforms in Jewish social custom, in Jewish religious practice, in Jewish educational procedure, in Jewish literary style and content.
this is where we get the trope of the self-hating Jew, as members of the Haskalah sought to reform Jewish society by making fun of more traditional behaviors and by sometimes identifying with the local anti-Semitic populations. Kerb often employs this trope as Larry makes fun of more traditional Jewish behavior and is even accused of being a self-loathing Jew. In this clip, we see Larry pretend to be a religious Jew and thereby sort of mock them in order to gain the favor of a Mr. Heinemann.
Mr. Heinemann,
How are you, sir?
what a great pleasure to meet you.
Well, it's nice to meet you. Sit down, please.
Thank you.
So?
I'm sorry, I'm a little late, you know.
Allah bechalem. It's not a big problem.
Yeah.
Was machst du? What a mitzvah it was for you to leave that note on my car. Thank you. Thank you.
What happened, I was listening to Jewish radio, and they were talking about Israel, and I got so worked up, I lost control of my car.
May I offer you some lunch?
Please.
Morty, menus, please.
Kerb draws laughs by having Larry imitate Mr. Heinemann's mannerisms, as we get the ages-old pattern of secular Jews making fun of more traditional ones. In this next clip, we can see the trope and humor of the Jew identifying with an anti-Semitic population, as Larry and Jeff prohibit Funkhauser from entering a Palestinian restaurant.
Shalom. You know, I thought all last night, if Rabin can break bread with Arafat, I can have chicken at this anti-Semitic shithole.
Okay, that's just not gonna work.
Yeah, that's no good.
What's not gonna work?
The yarmulke.
Yeah.
I can't go in with wearing this yarmulke?
You're just shoving it in their faces.
Let's go in.
No. It's
Yeah.
far
Yeah.
too cocky a move.
What is this, the raid on Entebbe? Let's just kind of walk in, casual.
What? Proud Jews wear yarmulkes?
Yeah, be proud here in the parking lot. You don't need to be
take it off.
proud in there.
Who's the
Let's
first?
just go in and
Cocky.
sit
No,
down.
take it off, take it off.
I'm not doing
Take
anything.
it off.
Don't you
Huh?
dare go
Come on,
after
take-
my
take-
yarmulke. Don't
take-
you reach for
take-
that.
take-
Don't you ever
take-
touch
take-
that. No, don't
Get it.
ever grab my yarmulke.
Ow.
Give it to me. Don't ever grab my yarmulke, ever. How dare you? Don't ever touch my yarmulke. Do you understand?
What the hell is that? We're gonna go eat without you.
Good, who needs you? Get out of here. Hey, thank you.
Finally, in this clip, we see Larry being accused of being a self-hating Jew.
Excuse me. Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish?
You want to check my penis?
Okay.
Huh? Is that what you
All right.
want to do?
My real question is,
Yeah,
what
what
were
is
you
your real
whistling?
question?
Yeah, what were you whistling?
Hello, Dolly?
No, it's Wagner.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
You,
it's a
sir,
major-
with $100.
I want to know what a Jew is whistling Wagner
Do you
for
wanna
when he was
know?
one of the great anti-Semites of the world. You know what you are?
What am I?
You're a self loathing Jew.
Am I?
Oh,
Well,
yes,
let me tell you
yes,
something.
yes, yes.
I
Jewishness.
do hate myself,
Yeah.
but it has nothing to do with being Jewish, okay?
No, it doesn't have anything.
The last major development in Jewish life and Jewish humor came as Jews started immigrating in large numbers to the US starting in the early 20th century. In the US, Jews faced much less persecution, and Jewish humor would even come to dominate the mainstream. This was a huge shift from the way in which Jewish comedy had to operate, and it brought with it new questions of how the Jewish population will relate to the Christian majority. More specifically, Jews and Jewish comics had to grapple with the question of whether Jews could, or even should, truly fit in with a broader society. This is exemplified by the rise of the country club joke, such as this one.
All the Greensteins wanted to do was to join the local country club, but of course it's restricted. They don't admit Jews. So what do? They fly to Paris. They spend months working on their accents. They receive tutoring in the finest details of cookery, art appreciation, table manners. They get the requisite amount of plastic surgery. And then, finally, they change their names, move back, and apply to join the country club. They sail through all the opening events with ease. Soon it's all over but the formality of the final interview. "What do you do, Mr. Grenville?" flatters the interviewer. "Oh, dabble mostly," the former Mr. Greenstein replies, shooting his French cuffs. "A little investing, some watercolors, you know how it is." "I do indeed," says the interviewer. "And Mrs. Grenville?" "Madame, s'il vous plaît. I paint as well, and work on my sauces." "Well," the interviewer says, "I don't want to speak out of turn, but I'm certain the two of you will be a remarkable addition to our little family here. Just one final question. What religion are you?" Mrs. Grenville draws herself up haughtily. "I, my good man, am a goy." The ineffable trace of Jewishness persists.
In this next clip, Curb explicitly alludes to the country club joke, as it explores the question of whether Larry could truly fit in, and whether he could ever really hide his Jewishness.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, Jim, Larry.
Larry?
Hi, Larry
Nice
David.
to meet you.
Larry?
Ken, what a great pleasure to meet you.
Well, I'm sure it's ours.
Larry tries to act as white as he can, but in doing so, he shows himself to be even more Jewish.
I must comment on how friendly everybody was. We just parked our Hummer in the lot.
You have a Hummer.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
How do you like it?
Oh, like it.
Very roomy.
What a beauty.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm not really too worried about the global warming. People like it a little warmer, don't they? I mean, am I crazy here?
By the way, where did you go to school?
New Haven, went to Yale.
Oh, I see. I see.
Did you? Let me ask you a question. What hobbies or social societies that you've been involved in?
That's a fair question.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah. I'm in the Rotary Club.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
What other organizations are you members of?
We're in the Council for Conservative Citizens, National Right to Life Committee.
Yes.
We're in the Heritage Foundation.
I think this has gone rather well.
Proceedings?
At the end, Larry cannot help but make Cheryl nervous and show his shoe personality.
Gentlemen, before we go, unfortunately, because of my polo accident, I'm not able to walk the course, and I'll have to take a card.
That's from my personal physician.
Oh, I see.
One Anthony Parker, Dr. Anthony Parker.
Of course.
In this next clip, we see Curb again employ the trope of whether a person can run away from their Jewishness, as Larry begins to think that he is adopted and that his biological parents are actually Christians. Larry acts as if this is an opportunity he has been waiting for his whole life. He uses the belief that he is not Jewish to reverse 60 years of his identity and to act as stereotypically white American as possible.
Hey, I got a bite, Pop. I got it. I got one.
This paints a picture of Jewish identity as something that Jews want to actively run away from, and it paints a picture that they would go and become Gentiles at the first opportunity. Furthermore, Curb explores modern Jewish American identity as Larry is the ultimate insider-outsider. Larry is the pinnacle of American life, as he is rich, has a beautiful wife, and is surrounded by celebrities, yet he is simultaneously the ultimate outsider. This makes Larry and Curb the ultimate vessel for modern Jewish American humor, as they can nail the role of the insider-outsider. Curb Your Enthusiasm draws up and innovates on many classic tropes of Jewish comedy. It finds deep humor in everyday instances of anti-Semitism. It continues the Haskalah tradition of secular Jews making light of Orthodox behavior. It finds humor in the trope of the self-hating Jew, and it explores the relation which modern American Jews experience with the Christian majority. Curb is shown to be deeply within a broader historical context of Jewish humor, as many of its most basic elements have been in the repertoire for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Whether this is the result of conscious choice or merely Larry's sense of humor, Curb Your Enthusiasm ultimately builds upon and adds to a rich tradition of Jewish comedy. Thank you for listening.